Hello everyone, this is PLG. Today we will be working on greater mummies by changing their unholy bolt to an ice blast, giving them a fire resist aura, and giving them a glow effect. Let's start as usually by opening AFJ sheet edit, but this time the assortment of files we'll be using is a little different. The two files that are the focus of this episode are monprop.txt, responsible for adding a few properties to a monster, and monstats2.txt, using which we can adjust the graphics of Diablo II's enemies. As per usual, we will also use monstats.txt to apply many of our changes, and levels.txt to see whether our changes actually work. The last three files, missiles, properties and skills, will be used only to look up the IDs of a spell, property or whatever we will need. We'll of course start by opening monstats.txt, as we need to locate the ID of the greater mummy. For this, in our search window we will write Unraveler. Let's use the first variant, the hollow one. The first thing we'll do is changing one of its attacks, specifically the one that uses an entry from missiles.txt. It's the one under the Miss A2 column. Okay, we found it, and it's just called Mummy 1, which doesn't exactly convey whether it's the Unholy Bolt or the Poison Breath. To figure out which one it is, we only have to open up missiles.txt and look for Mummy 1. As we may see, its animation file is called Greater Mummy Breath. Now, I may not be the best at guessing games, but I'd say that it's the Poison Breath and not the Unholy Bolt. So, we figured that much out. But, if we're modding, let's try to actually change it to a different attack. Let's try using the projectile for the Inferno spell. Okay, we changed the Poison Breath. Now, let's try changing the Unholy Bolt to a different attack. As you may have noticed, the Unholy Bolt is not actually in any of the missile columns. That's because it's cast as a spell and not as a missile attack. What's the difference? Well, spells, which use the skill column, for one, let us change the level of an attack. That is, if it supports it. There will be a more in-depth video about skills, but let's get back to changing our hollow one. At its skills columns, we can see a couple different spells. The first one is rather straightforward. It's just its ability to resurrect monsters of the low undead type. The second, on the other hand, may be a bit confusing, as Bestow was actually a skill that's supposed to heal undead, kind of like what the Cantors in Act 3 use, but it has been disabled for the mummies. Although, in the resurrected version of the game it has been brought back. And on the third skill column we have exactly what we were looking for, the Unholy Bolt. So, how do we change it? For that, we need to look inside skills.txt. Inside, we will find an assortment of different skills, be it skills that the player can use or those that are only accessible to monsters. All of them are here. If you want, you can of course experiment, as most of the skills here can be used to replace the one the monster uses. You can, for instance, make the Fallen Shamans use Poison Novas instead of Fireballs. But for now, let's do something more balanced and change the Hollow One's Unholy Bolt to a simple Ice Blast. What's left in terms of skills now is to let our Hollow One use the Fire Resist aura. You'd probably think that we do it just like with the other skills. Just replace the unused Bestow with it and we're done. Right? Wrong. Auras are kind of special in this aspect, and you actually need to use a different method to add it. And that's where monprop comes in. Using it, we can add a couple effects to our monsters that would not work if placed in the skill column. This applies to stuff like the Assassin's Fade effect and all of the auras. So, let's open up monprop.txt. Inside, for a change, we'll be greeted by very few rows, since not many monsters in the vanilla game actually use monprop.txt. Some of the ones here are the fade effects of Night Marauders and Ethereal Iron Golems, or the ability to blind enemies used by druids summoned ravens. As for the columns, each of them is of course responsible for a different thing, and also allows us to add different effects to a monster on Nightmare and Hell difficulties. Let's make a new row at the end and I'll swiftly explain what do each of these columns do. The prop 1 column is where we put the type of property we want the monster to have, be it knockback, crushing blow, or in our case, an aura. Chance 1 is just the percentage that the monster has this property. Par 1 is the parameter, so in our case we will put here the ID of our aura taken from skills.txt. Min 1 and max 1 is the minimum maximum value. For auras, it's their level, but for things like crushing blow, it will be the chance that they will be applied to the attack. So there's that for what these columns do. Let's try filling our row out. The prop 1 column must be filled by a property present in the properties.txt file. So let's jump in there and search for auras. Small caution, if you want to try this out, keep in mind that only some of the properties in this file may be used in monprop.txt. Many of them simply won't work, as most of them are meant for items. For instance, adding magic find % won't really work on a monster. Now, let's simply write or paste this property into prop 1. The chance should be 100, especially when playtesting. Par 1 we will have to take from skills.txt. You could technically write in the aura's name here, but remember that a minor spelling mistake will result in it not working. Min 1 and max 1 you can set however you want. It's just the minimum and maximum level of the aura with which the monster can spawn. Now, let's just copy those values to the Nightmare and Hell equivalents of those columns, and we'll be finished with that. Or maybe not, as there's still one more thing to do. You have to place the name of the monprop row into the monprop column in monstats.txt. So, now we're left with one more task, adding a light glow to our money. The pointer to our monster's graphics is the monstats x column in monstats.txt, which directs us to the main file controlling the graphics of monsters, to monstats2.txt. In this file, we are immediately greeted by three unused columns. The height, overlay height, and pix height do exactly nothing, at least in the 1.10 to 1.14 versions of the game. However, the next two columns, size X and size Y, are actually pretty important, as they're used for calculating collisions between monsters and tiles. They are pretty much the hitboxes of our monsters. The next four are very specific and mostly relate to the weapons the monster has. Except for spawn call, it's for some special spawning methods. All the columns I've highlighted here are responsible for equipment variety. With them, you can choose which variants of each body part can the monster spawn with. I will explain this in more detail once we get to making a brand new monster. As a small example, the skeletons can spawn with either light, medium, heavy, or desert armor, as well as several different weapons or shields. Those columns dictate which variants of them they can spawn with. Most of the other columns will be explained more in detail in the video about making a brand new monster. For now, we'll just skip right to what we came here for. To get to this, we should first go straight to the Unraveler 1 column, and once on it, just scroll to the right, until you'll see the light columns. There's 4 of them. The first is the strength of the glow, and the 3 others let you choose its color using RGB values. We'll just use a color picker for this, and I recommend you to try out a different color than mine, as soon you will see that colors like orange or white aren't all that visible in game. Some sort of purple or blue would be much better visible. Anyway, now that we have added a light glow to our mummy, we can as always make the hollow ones spawn in the Bloodmoor, save our changes and jump right into the game. As we can see, the aura works, and the hollow ones most certainly try to attack me with ice blasts. Let's try getting close to them so they'll use the not so poison breath now. As you can see, he kinda just spew out a fiery cloud. That's perfect, as this is a singular projectile used by the Inferno spell. Normally, it doesn't look like that, as Inferno is a channeled spell and it just spawns those clouds continuously. In the second clip, I had to put them in a cave because their orange glow was hardly visible outside. We can see that they in fact do glow with an orange light. It's certainly not the best choice, as the fire aura produces a similar glow, but it definitely can be visible. In the next episode of this series, we will go on a quest of adding, adjusting and placing on the map a new super unique monster. In our case, we'll make a super unique variant of the ogre monster we added last time. It's not a hard thing to do, and we'll get to use not only new files, but also a new program, DS1 Edit. See you in my next videos. Bye!